Well, hello there to all the people who, like myself, like to watch repair videos. It's the Christmas holidays. I'm here by myself. And for today, I thought I would take a little break from the modular building and all the issues that we're having with the roof over there. So today I'm going to patch a drywall hole and hopefully get it painted in the right color. Buckle up your seat as I give you a day in the life of facilities maintenance. Good morning. So today we're going to do a simple little drywall patch. There's a hole in the wall behind me where a television used to be mounted. IT takes the TV down and then they send a note to me going, "Hey, can you fix the hole in the wall?" If I look around this space, I can actually take quite a bit of ownership in here. Well, both Mark and I. We've done a lot of work in this space. Probably the most recent thing that we've done is this valance that you see up there, kind of like your grandmother's valance in her living room that used to be above the curtains. Mark did a fantastic job of putting all that together. And that was just done to help visually cover the mechanisms for the doors, the roll-up doors and whatnot. Mark also trimmed out around the doors with this wood trim here, and truth be told, these are actually being held on. So I'm not even strong enough to move it by hand. You'd have to pry it. Magnets, neodymium magnets are actually holding that wood onto the metal framework around the door. It's pretty cool. This used to be a big gaping hole in the wall. I finished all that and actually had to, because round corners aren't very popular anymore, I actually had to custom make that little round piece up at the top there. That library desk used to sit here kind of in between these two pillars. We moved it back and they needed to get all the wiring, power, electricity and IT and all the rest of that back to there. And so before we put new carpeting down here, I actually cut a channel through the concrete and extended the wiring from the pole down under there up into that. You can see where it's coming up right there. And speaking of this, it didn't used to have a bottom shelf in it. So I welded together a metal framework for that bottom shelf to put that in there. This center pillar used to be completely different. I built that countertop support all the way around there. All of these bookshelves used to be twice the height. They were the height of the ones that you see along the wall. And I cut all of those in half, put the countertop base on top of those, put wheels on the bottom, just finished them to make them half height and all mobile. So you see them, a couple there, you see a couple here. There's another one over there. These used to all be permanent tall shelves in the middle. And so by making them all half height, what it effectively does is opens things up visually. What else? Lots of painting. Can't take credit for that yellow. That was done by summertime painters. When the living is easy. Yeah, a bunch of drywall work here too. I remember this and this. Actually, this didn't used to go all the way through there. There used to be a door here. Yeah, so there's been a lot of work in here. So it feels like coming home to come back and fix a hole in the wall. Feels like my wall that somebody's put a hole in. So I'm happy to fix that. And that's what we're gonna do today. Well, this isn't intended to be a how-to video, but I'll walk you through what I'm doing anyway. First thing I'm doing is prepping the area, and that involves pulling out little anchors that are stuck in the wall. Unfortunately, pulling out these little anchors leaves big holes. I say big, but they're half-inch holes in the drywall, so I have to prep them. And by prepping them, what I'm actually doing is Basically what I'm doing is I'm pressing in the butt handle of my little scraper that I have in my hand, my knife, and that is putting a chamfer on the edges, if that makes sense. So they're not sharp edges that are going to show up afterwards. They're actually sloped inwards. And that way when I mud them, they won't leave ridges or lines. They'll be a smooth, easier transition to fill and sand. What I've done here is just put a small piece of backing in this side. Kind of convenient. I've got the stud right here, so I don't have to put anything in on this side. But if I just screwed my piece of drywall into this side only, it's not going to be perfectly flat with this surface, and that's what we need. So by putting in a little piece of backing here, with this already here, when I screw my little piece of drywall into place, it will be perfectly flat with the wall, and it will never crack because there will never be any differential movement between the existing and the patch. So what you're not able to tell from this video is that the screw that I used on the right and the screw that I used on the left are actually different. One is made for a metal stud and one for wood, the wood one being a coarser thread. So at this point, there are two ways I could go about doing this. I could use some mesh tape or paper tape and tape around that, which would also help ensure no cracking. But because this is such a small patch and because I have backing on both sides of it, there is not going to be any differential movement between the two surfaces. And so I'm pretty confident that I can just go ahead and mud this without any tape. So that's what I'm going to do. Your mileage may vary. Do whatever you're comfortable with. Just be aware that if you use tape, you are going to have to spread your mud out over a much larger patch in order to feather things out to make it look like a flat surface when all is said and done. I can get away with using less mud in a smaller area by doing it this way. The other thing that I'll point out is the type of mud that I'm using. I'm actually not going to be using a regular drywall mud, which would take forever to dry. I'm using a quick set mud. This one is called Easy Sand 5 Patching Compound by Sheetrock. It's a Canadian brand. Pick it up here from most big box stores. The nice thing about this is it's less drywall mud and more like cement, mortar. It cures more than it actually dries. And so you get way less shrinkage and your working time is much, much quicker, which for a job like this is great because then I can be in and out of here much quicker and get to painting much sooner. Just gonna go throw a little bit of water in this. Well, I mixed it a little on the thin side. So I'm gonna throw a little bit more product in here, bearing in mind that I don't have much time because it's curing as it's sitting here right now. Doesn't take much, but I don't want it too thin because I want to be able to pack these holes and this seam around the patch. That's better. That's hanging on my little mixing knife here. Much better. First step is to just pack the mud deep into the holes and crevices, ensuring full package. Well, that's our first coat. You can always expect to do 2 coats with something like this. If your mud gets to just the right consistency. And right now my mud is setting up so that I may only have about 30 or 45 seconds more working time with it. I was saying, if you can get your mud to be cured to just the right consistency, and your working window is very short, I should add, that if you can finish these so they're just a little bit proud, that when it comes time to sand them, when they do cure, you might be able to do this as a one and done. All my holes are sitting a little bit proud right now, and this bit around here is also sitting a little proud, so I'm gonna leave that. And yeah, if that doesn't shrink, which this mud is very good at not shrinking, we might be out of here with a one-time application, sanding, and then we're ready for paint. So we'll just give that an hour or so to cure up, and then we'll come back and do our finish. But you can see it's only been a couple minutes, and this stuff is hard in the container already. So I'm gonna go clean this out, and see you in an hour. So while I'm waiting for that to set up, I'm gonna go look in our paint storage and see if I can find a match to that gray. Because if I can't, we may be painting the whole thing. I think I found our match, and it's called Stormy Seas. That's good. I was a little concerned that I wouldn't. And while I'm down here, I might as well help the curing process a little bit. Call me impatient. Well, that heat gun finished things off quite nicely. And if you look closely, you can see how each one of these little buttons are just slightly proud. Being that these are a little bit proud, a nice easy sanding over the whole surface with a nice flat sanding block should give me a finished finish, a one and done. This part here sunk in a little bit. However, at the same time, I also have it filled thicker than it needed to be, or a little bit. And so once I'm finished sanding there, that might also disappear. We'll find out. And that's the beauty of using this quick mud, or hot mud, as it's sometimes called as well, that it cures more than it dries, so it doesn't shrink as much. You can mix it up and apply it when it's kind of at a point where it's still a little bit malleable, but yeah, it sets up harder than actual drywall mud, and it doesn't shrink. So with a small application like this, you can sometimes get away with a one and done, which is great in a job like this. Now my first pass with the sanding is just to knock down the high spots. But then you actually see me making circles around the round holes that I filled. And that's because I don't want to take too much material off the actual fill itself. I want to feather the edges of the hole. And I'm using very, very light pressure on my sanding block. I also try and make it a habit to clean as I go. One thing, it helps control the variables and keep the dust and dirt right in my workspace here. And it also keeps me from tracking it all around the rest of the school, the carpet, all over the books, whatnot. When you're painting with a roller, whether it be a narrow roller or a wide roller, the same principles apply. You always like to keep a wet edge, and depending on whether or not I'm moving left or right, I'm comfortable with actually moving both. Some people only will go left to right or right to left because of the way they apply the pressure on the roller. If I'm going right to left, I'm actually applying less pressure on the right side of the roller, so I feather my wet edge better. If I'm going left to right, the pressure's on the right side. And with the paint on the wall over the patch, I'm doing one final pass from left to right for complete uniformity. All right, I was able to do a one and done with the actual drywall patch and mudding. And let's see if we're able to do a one and done with the paint job. I've bagged up my little paint tray and roller. So I'm gonna go eat lunch now. And after lunch, we'll see how this dries up and see how it looks. And if I have to hit it with another coat, then I will. Everything's ready for me. If not, I'll just clean that up and put it away and then I'm done. As far as the paint can is concerned, I had about an inch of paint left in that, so that was perfect to just be able to use here. I've chucked the rest of that. As often happens, I've just turned that spot that I patched into the nicest part of the wall. So I think what I'm gonna do, I will kind of scuff sand a slightly larger area, paint, because I have my paint and my roller right here, and then walk away. And there you have it. A simple drywall patch that turned out to be a bit of a paint job as well. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.